So this time last year, I uploaded a video telling you all that I left my family business to start my own property development company. So I've got some exciting news. This is our first official site after months to get here. The field behind me will be 17 houses. So this is the part I actually enjoy, the building part. I hate working with banks. I hate spreadsheets. I like being on site in muddy wellies. The site that we purchased is in Cambridgeshire in a village called Isleham. And the site has outline planning for 17 units, as you see here. So there is 5 affordable units at the front, which will go to a housing association, and then a mix of 3 and 4 bed dormer bungalows at the back of the site. So we actually have a Section 73 amendments planning in at the minute, which is basically something that allows us to change the conditions in which the old planning was approved upon. And in this situation, it's the drawings, which basically allows us to change the house types without having to do a whole new application. So the site plan we now have or are applying for is the one you see here. We have made the road smaller because the previous road was a full double width carriage with 2 pathways either side. So to give it a slightly more intimate feel within the site, we've made the road a bit smaller and given some sort of shared surface areas within the site. So we wanted to add value to the land in this deal, and the way we achieved that was by working really closely with our architect to completely redesign the whole site.
But I think you've got more space than that.
He uses like less than a quarter of the room.
But that's what I just think it's just going to look really underwhelming as it currently stands. So in terms of the actual redesign, I'll show you the 4-bed house type. So this was the original plans. They weren't amazing. There was some clear faults. So for example, here there's a kitchen door going through a kitchen counter. The head height here is restricted in the wardrobes, en-suites and bathrooms because of this roof line. So what we changed it to is what you can see here. So importantly, we changed it to add gable ends to just increase the overall space within the roof space, and changed to an attic truss, which created this space being a lot bigger and with less compromised headroom, and little things like making sure there was doors through to utilities. So overall, really happy with the redesign. In terms of total square footage across the site, we've gone from just over 25,000 square foot in total to 28,000 square foot within the same footprint of building, simply with the redesign of the roof. And in terms of gross development value of the site, we've gone from about 6.1 to £8 million GDV, again with this redesign. We're also preparing our tender pack, which is for a mains contractor who is going to build the site for us. Within that, we've got 2 main issues we're just bottoming out. One is the heating strategy, as in what heating we're going to go with because of the position of the gas main in comparison to this site. And the second one is just bottoming out the truss design. Because these are dormer houses, the truss design is more complicated. So we just need to thoroughly understand that before we go to tender. In this particular situation, the gas connection point is about 80 metres. Down the road on this corner would be where we connect into our site here. Because the gas connection is quite far from site, this means that the gas heating is quite an expensive option. And because of this, it means we should really review all heating options to make sure we're going with the most efficient and potentially the cheaper option. So this means we're currently exploring the option of obviously the gas heating system, which is your normal gas boiler system, an all-electric system which works on the exact same principles, but it just uses electricity as the source of fuel for heating the boiler system, infrared heating panels and air source heat pumps. The gas-powered heating system and the electrical-powered heating system work, like I say, exactly the same as what you probably have in your house. Essentially powers a boiler which warms water, which warms radiators and warms the air. Simple. And essentially how infrared works is rather than heating the room, they heat things in the room. So infrared technology is used to heat objects within the room, and then from that the objects heat the room, which is a slightly different way of operating. However, the issue with these is typically for power in to power out ratios, they're not particularly efficient. So normally you need carbon offsetting features within the house to be able to use infrared. The other option is air source heat pumps. Typically people are less familiar with these, but they look like this, and you may have seen them outside houses or often quite commercial properties will have them. How air source heating works is essentially it takes any hot air from the environment and brings it into the house. Even on freezing days, it can pull any heat from the outside into the inside of your property. Now these are seen as particularly eco-friendly options for heating a house, however, normally more expensive to fit. But in this situation, because gas is expensive to bring in, it's worth factoring in air source heating as an option for us. One of the other issues that we need to bottom out before we go to tender is the detailed truss design. We don't want to leave this to the contractor. We want a specialist truss company to do the design for us because of the complexity. So as I mentioned, these are a dormer house type, and what this means is they're basically 1.5 story. So as you can see here, the upstairs, where all the bedrooms are, sit in the roof space. And basically what this means is you need a different type of truss to standard. You need what's called an attic truss. So we've been going back and forth now for a few weeks with our architects, engineers, and the truss company we're looking to use to get a truss design to work in with our structural design in a way that's actually deliverable and of course safe. Hi Colin.
Hi Rosie, okay?
Hiya. Yeah, just a quick one on the roof truss. So you're saying with the adding a bit more steel into house types A and B, I'm assuming Nuneaton roof truss have allowed for the trusses to sit on the wall plate, because I know some designers just go crazy and don't assume that. Just for context, this is house type D, which is just one of the affordable units, which is a standard bungalow. So it has standard trusses, which have our standard webbing, as you can see in the middle here. And essentially your points of support to hold up the truss come from the middle points. And you basically just have a straight run of trusses. So these little yellow lines here basically indicate a truss at each point. So very simple truss design. Compare that to the truss design for one of the dormers, which looks like this. So this is the top-down view. So as you can see, we have trusses at different spacings. We have double trusses at points because they need to support the dormers that you see here. We have trusses running in different angles. And then importantly, in this section, because we've got the T intersect and an area that needs to be completely open, we have areas of cut out trusses. So as you can see, there leaves basically an unsupported truss side. Now, one issue that this presents is you have a truss with its kick-out loading on a wall here, which is about 1.2 meters high and essentially can make it unstable. The load pushing it out could become too great and essentially could push the wall over in theory. So it needs reinforcing. And this is where we've had conversations back and forth with the structural engineer to produce another plan, which is this. So this is our new structural plan. And essentially what they've added, particularly at this front gable, is steel reinforcements on the wall plate to basically hold up that truss to take that kick-out loading from it. So we got there in the end. As you can see from design one of the affordable house type, which was just such a simple truss design, to this one, and then as a result of that, the further structural designs that were needed, there is a lot of complexity around delivering a dormer house type, but we got there in the end. We have our truss design, so this is all now ready to go into the tender pack to go to the mains contractor. As I mentioned, we purchased the site at the back end of last year. We used a combination of bridging finance, our own investment, and equity partners' investment to complete on the purchase, and we're now in the process of applying for our development finance based on the new scheme and the new numbers. As and when I've got all that in place, I will do a video breaking down all the numbers behind the finance on this particular deal. Right now, Tyler and I are about to hop on a webinar with some potential equity investors for our next deal, a deal we can't quite yet talk about.
But lots of exciting stuff coming soon.
See you in the next video.